do.
All right, chapter three for this episode of Mostly Wizard. Nick, we both watched the new Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein film over the weekend. I had some thoughts. You had some thoughts. What do you think?
I'm gonna briefly touch on it, and I'm gonna go back to you here, and then I'll comment some more. So overall, it's a beautiful movie. It's a movie that is hits on different aspects that if you were in like an English class or something like that, you would be tested on or something, you know? And I appreciate that. You don't get, that's what I love about like that's okay. So when we were talking about Alien Earth, which I was raging on like from the get-go, is that like it was talking about all these different aspects of like that's kind of like what this did, but did it, Alien Earth, I'm not even gonna talk about because I didn't like how that came about, but this I do like it when they get like all literal and beautiful like this. I thought this Frankenstein, this new iteration of it, it was nothing new, but it was lack of better words, it was beautiful. It was a
Yeah.
good movie. So, but yeah, please let's elaborate a little bit, Billy. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this and some specifics on it because I do have some criticism.
Yeah. No, so I read Frankenstein, the novel, in high school at like what was that, sophomore year? Sophomore year, I think. And I liked it. It was we read Dracula right before it, and Dracula I didn't like as much because that was written like all his letters, and I thought that was dumb. And anyway, long story short, I liked Frankenstein, and as time has gone on, I've realized like it is such the book, Mary Shelley, the author, wrote one of the most quintessential novels of like modern history. It's the first sci-fi novel. It's the first horror novel, really. Um, it's really
I think it's like
interesting.
it's like the one of the most done movie remade movies like
Yeah, and
ever or something
like
like that.
pulled from like there's so many iterations of it and so many like uh homages to it and whatnot. Like even the Darth Vader rising up in the episode three is like, "Oh,
Right,
no, that's
right.
Frankenstein's monster." And yeah, so I was like really like, oh, like when I heard this movie was coming out, I was like not impressed. Like I've heard this, been there, done that. I kind of had that attitude, but I was interested because del Toro is
Right.
phenomenal. Like I love Pan's Labyrinth, like his whole, I could go through all of his movies. That was the first one that came to my mind. Um, but yeah, I was excited for this. Like, oh, what would be his take on this? And so when I watched it, truth be told, I was a little bored throughout. I thought there could have been, I'll just lead with my major criticism. It's a Netflix movie. In
Right.
in what I mean by that is that there's no constraints. They give you like I don't know the inner workings of how these movies are made, but from my perspective, what Netflix does is say, here's a blank check, I can't say his name right now.
Guillermo
Guillermo
del
del Toro.
Toro.
My name is William. I should be able to say that. Del Toro, here's a massive check. Do whatever you want to do. It's due by this date. And as long as he gives them something by that date, they're going to put it on Netflix and be like, all right, we got our deal done. And what is missing from that is with, the institutions that are, Paramount, Warner Brothers, all Universal, all these, is, executive interference. Like everybody talks shit on that, but when you get people too many cooks in the kitchen, like you have to whittle down the movie a little bit. And like you look at what's necessary and what's not necessary,
Right.
and you cut things that you hold dearly, like it's a darling scene, but you have to cut it for pacing or for time reasons. This movie didn't have that level, and that's what I don't like about this, era of movies that we're in, the Irishman, the Robert De Niro movie, the Scorsese. That could have been a good movie if it was made like as a theatrical release because it would have
Right.
been cut down a little bit. So, all that to say, that's my major complaint about
Do you
Del
do you,
Toro's
do you think
Frankenstein.
like
It could have been cut down in a few places.
oh, okay, like so this is what I kind of also thought, but like I also thought like maybe that if they would have like made it longer, like okay, so I get what you're saying and I agree with it 100%. And I also think that like where it's at, if they would have made it longer and expanded on a couple of things, it kind of would have made it better. You know what I
Part
mean?
one and
Like
part two,
well,
yeah.
I mean, like kind of like that, but it's like, okay, so you guys had a choice. It's like, okay, so we should we make this longer and include all this other stuff, or should we make it shorter and make it less like you said, like kind of like boring, a bit. And then they kind of chose to do it in the middle.
Hmm.
And I 100% agree with what you're saying. And and that was one of the criticisms I kind of had as
Yeah.
far as like, I did
The
get bored a little
pacing was
bit.
just like,
Right.
yeah, it was a little off.
I know you watched it with your wife. What did
Yeah.
she think?
Oh, she liked it a lot too. She hadn't read the book. She, obviously is familiar with the story, but it was funny watching because yeah, okay. So with the pacing, I felt like it could have been trimmed down a little bit. It stayed very true to the book, which is,
Right.
uh where I was going with Mandy chimed in like she asked a question at one point like, "Oh, is this blah blah blah?" And I'm like, "You've never read this book, have you?" Because it was if you've read the book, like this movie hits all the beats
Yeah.
of the plot of the main story, which obviously it should as an adaptation. We'll get to the ending. That's a whole separate thing. The ending is the exact opposite of Mary Shelley's original ending, which is kind of cool. Um, but yeah, I thought that was interesting that it stayed so true to the book, but I was still um, kind of like not it wasn't beat for beat, I guess. Like it
Right.
had the major key frame moments throughout, but it wasn't beat for beat. And so I appreciate that. And it did kind of bring a new perspective to the story that's been told so many times. And I think um, so two things. One, the physicality of the creature I thought was phenomenal. The way they brought it to life in the classic, Pan's Labyrinth-ish way
Yeah.
of like just grotesque but also beautiful, like you said. Like it's really like un I only Del Toro can do that. Like that beauty and horror at the same time. And like the first time in this movie that like came about was when you have the torso. He hasn't created the creature yet. It's just the torso on like the pedestal thing and it like
Right.
starts coming to life and it's just like going like this.
Yeah.
Like that was so like, whoa, I've never seen that, but it's like familiar and like it just worked. Like the way they did that and then escalated it from there, escalated the horror. You see the torso come to life and then you see the body bent over in like this almost fetal position, hunched over, with needles and stuff. And then like it comes to life and then it's this horrible thing. But then you see, like, this is what the movie accomplishes better than anything that I've seen, any other retelling of this story has done so far, is that it made the doctor, Oscar Isaac's character, Dr. Frankenstein, he is the monster. And like that's the whole point of the book. And like, that's on its face, like that's very obvious, like the doctor who creates life doesn't know what to do with it, doesn't have any consideration for living. He
Right.
just wants to create life with the snap of a finger. And
And expect it to be perfect and all this stuff.
yeah,
And
and just like a ignorant child, like doesn't
right.
consider the repercussions of creating life and all these things. And this movie freaking nailed it. Like Oscar Isaac was a monster in this movie. He was treating this creature like a creature, it
Well,
wasn't human. And
and,
like that's what I loved about this movie is like, oh my gosh, I feel such sympathy for this weird torso thing that's sewn together. And he's just treating it like it's a freaking like throwaway thing. So like
and that's what
that
I kind
that
of
was the
got.
major thing that I took away from this.
I That's what I kind of got though from the prelude or the yeah, as a prelude um of Victor's story where he's a kid and being subjected to his father's discipline. And
There's a
that's what I
monster.
saw when he was, interacting and disciplining. I mean, like, I hate to use the word disciplining, but like, interacting with his creation, like, because it's at one point, I 100% remember him like whipping it, like,
Yeah.
it just like his father used to do when he used to get a wrong answer on something. And I was just like, okay, so this is purely like, not purely, I want to say, because this is like a nature versus nurture type of thing. And and to back that up, you have Elizabeth, who obviously was not raised that way, who comes in with all this kindness and all the
Mhm.
to the monster, and you can see that. I mean, and we don't have a backstory to Elizabeth, but like it's implied that like she never wasn't subjected to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I thought that was kind of a very good. And like I said, this is this is like an
Yeah.
English this movie you watch in English class, in which I love, and I like talking about that like that. But um, I thoroughly enjoyed the way it was just like you said, like Oscar Isaac's character Victor has all this baggage that he got from his father, and he says this from the get-go that his father hated his mother and him for their dark hair and dark eyes. And like that right there is him stating that he always has to prove himself to his father.
Yeah.
And then when like the pedestal, or the in his, or what's that, the cornerstone in his life, which is his mother, that he never thought would ever be leave him ever,
Hmm.
dies during birth, or during the birth of his brother. He at that point is number one. You kind of hear this from him, when he confronts his father, like, hey, you're supposed to be the top surgeon, like in the country or the world or in Europe or something like that. And you let my mother die. And it's just like, okay, number one, that's kind of like a childish thing to say, because it's like, you don't know what went on. But yes, that could be right. Maybe that's what he did do. I don't know. Um, but it's kind of like a little bit of a like a prelude to where he's
Oh
coming
yeah.
from in all this, where he has to always prove himself, and then at that point he's saying that he is not going to let something like death stop him from being whole.
Yeah.
Let's use that word whole,
Yeah.
because when his mother died, he was no longer whole.
Hmm.
And so he searched for a way, and to become whole, and it became an obsession. And I like that, because that scene where he's in front of all the academics, and he's in front, it's basically, I think that was like a trial, and the judges were, I mean, they weren't like law judges, but I think they were like medical judges or something. I think they were like trying to kick him
That's
out.
how medical school was. They
Yeah,
were
I think they
like,
were trying to kick him out, like, of like the medical academics or something
oh
like that.
yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
academic board or whatever.
but like I thought that the way he portrayed, like when he, because like you said, like that was a scene like that was I really hadn't seen before, where he definitely showcased that he knows how to do this and all this shit, blah blah blah. And but what stood out to me though was, and this is what what's his name from Django Unchained?
Oh, Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz. This is what Christoph Waltz said to him after that. He said, like, what I saw was some child out there working on like working off of emotion, because that's kind of
Yeah.
like what he was doing. And it wasn't like he was, so like if you weren't trying to prove yourself, like I have something to prove to you. Like I'm gonna sit here and like, oh, so you're not reacting to what I'm saying. So I'm gonna get like emotional stuff. Like that's what Oscar Isaac's was character Victor was
Hmm.
doing during that whole thing. He was getting loud, he was getting like, animated, that sort of thing. And that's what what's his name again?
Oscar Isaac?
No, 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 the German.
Oh, Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz like said to him. He's just like, dude, like, I saw a child out there, like, having like a tantrum or something like that. And I that really resonated with me, because that is 100% true. Because if he really didn't care about, what these other people were saying or anything like that, but only about the, like, the end goal, number one, he probably wouldn't be there. But, number two, he would just be like not monotone, but like, his voice wouldn't be raised up. You,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, you're just giving, yep, and this is what it does. Like, hey, I can throw a ball to it. It's gonna catch it. It's gonna react. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be caring about, that other the outcome.
Yeah.
So I did like that.
No, and just to pick up on that too,
Yeah,
like that's like going to the major thing at the end. One of the big things that was
theme
huh?
is the word you're looking for. Theme.
No, the ending.
Okay.
The ending, the change, one of the big changes in adaptation that was made was in the end, Victor basically like atones for like they have a conversation, the
Right.
creature and the doctor about, like he realizes his wrongs. Yeah, I need to rewatch the ending a little bit
No, yeah, no.
again to get his exact words, but
Wait, hey, did he die at the end? Because I could all I remember is they had that conversation, then all of a sudden the creature comes out and they let him go. Like, did Oscar Isaacs die? Like Victor Frankenstein
I
die?
don't know if he dies. So that's the thing though. It kind of doesn't matter because the in the
Right.
book he does die before Frankenstein, before the monster is able to come to him and have that conversation with him. So in the book, there's no resolution, and it's kind of like a tragic ending because the monster just has to like go off into the dark and like this icy dark future to just like he ends up killing himself. Actually, the monster like kills himself, and so in this movie he goes off into the light, like he goes off into the wilderness and like
Yeah.
there's the implication of like he can survive in some way and make a life for himself. So like I liked that ending. It was very different from the bleak ending of like I didn't like the ending of the Robert De Niro movie slash the book of like the monster's like, oh, he has this horrible life and like he really wants to like get back to his father Victor and like make him apologize, be like, you did me wrong and like you owe me this. And then like he gets back to him but he's dead, and it's like, oh, the monster can't even have that. He not only has all this freakish stuff going on the outside, but his mind is just can never be at one. And so like this movie gives the monster that atonement, that at one mint. And I like that. I like the kind of positive ending. It was cool.
So like a couple other things that I kind of wanted to touch on this. Like, and now that we're talking about this, Billy, like I really like, now that I think about like my criticisms, like there really isn't too many criticism, because this movie is what
It's
this movie is. And
it
like,
just wasn't that entertaining for you.
right, right. I mean, it's not even that. It was just, it was like you said, the pacing,
Yeah.
and I thought, like I said at the beginning of the conversation, like I wish some of it they could have made it longer and added a bunch more stuff into it, or like I said, you said like if they would have made it shorter,
Yeah.
they could have it made it a little bit more exciting. But like, um, I liked how so Victor's biggest, I not biggest, but like only family is his brother. And, throughout the entire movie, he shows this just disdain for his brother, but his brother just shows love for him the entire time. And and throughout the entire thing, it's all about Victor, it's all about him, and then, Victor is stealing his fucking girl and like, it to me like I said, I mean, like this whole thing is just like a nature versus nurture
Mm.
story, because this could definitely go different, like in a different scenario, but um, I did like how they came together after he destroys the tower and he loses his leg and his brother takes him in, and then, at the wedding when his brother gets killed, he definitely I think that was the catalyst. I think that was what set him off onto his crusade to follow the monster through the entire world, as far north as you can get.
Yeah.
Um, which says like volumes, which I like I said, I wish they would have added more to this, to a little bit more of that story between them, because it was just like I felt that that was the good character arc right there.
Yeah.
That was the character arc where it was like he had all this disdain for his brother, and then now after his he's realized he didn't do good with the monster. He tried to blow it, blow everything up, and then he gets hurt. His brother, after all this, is still taking him in, all this shit, and he
Yeah.
realizes that. Um, I thought that was a character arc, and I thought that when his brother got killed, I don't think it was when Elizabeth got killed. Maybe it was, I don't know, but like, did she get killed at like? Because all I remember, maybe I skipped over that part. He got killed. He got killed. He follows the monster into the cave, and then Elizabeth is like talking to her, like laying on some rock, and then I
Yeah.
I, I don't remember what happened, like if she got
Yeah, I'm
pregnant or
foggy
not.
on the details. I like,
But
yeah.
in my opinion, I think it was his brother, but because he really didn't have too much, what lust it was to me. It was just all lust with Elizabeth. I
Yeah.
mean, so. What I did like, and I really wanted to touch on, I wanted to hear your thoughts on, was the whole the monster story. Because we did Victor's story, and then you have the other second half is the monster story, and
Oh
his
yeah.
story was from the tower blowing up, losing his memory, and then getting taken in, not taken in, but hiding in the hunter's family's lodge,
Yeah.
and then having the interaction with the elder hunter.
That was the moment where Mandy asked me a question where the creature was with with the guy, and she asked me something like, oh, I forget what she asked me, but I was like, oh well, that's like in Young Frankenstein. That's Gene Hackman's character. And she's like, oh, I know this part. Yeah, you get what I mean.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know
yeah,
Young Frankenstein, right?
yeah, yeah. I know.
uh yeah, Gene Hackman plays the blind caregiver and like shows him, comfort and soup. He gives him
Well,
soup,
Gene.
food
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. I thought you were saying. I was thinking.
Gene Wilder.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, Lex Luthor.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so anyway, I that's what I love. Part of what I loved about the movie was just those common beats but done differently. Um, what were we talking about with this part? Like I thought that
Oh,
that
okay. So I
that's
liked.
like an established part in the book and in the all the interpretations of the story is he goes to stay with a family and learns like humanity through that, which he had never experienced through Victor because Victor's an asshole. So like up until that point, he had never experienced humanity, and then he experiences it through that family.
Right, and I
But
thought
then
that
the
was.
horror of him being blamed for being a monster that kills the guy, it's like, no, he didn't do that. Oh, it's so tragic.
And
And
plus,
that's what
that
I
wolf
love.
was right there too, and it's just like, dude, you see the wolf right there. I mean, like so. I thought and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, like I definitely skipped over a couple of parts there, but like I thought that they were gonna talk about, or at least the monster was gonna acknowledge like kind of like what was going on. Like, he first experience with after getting washed up on shore with the hunters is that he gets shot because they don't know what he is. They're gonna shoot first, blah blah blah. But then he goes and hides and he sees the humanity in family and why they would have done that to him. Why
Yeah.
would they have, shot for it? Well, because they're trying to protect, from what they have. And then you have the instance of these wolves that are coming in and just annihilating their sheep.
The
So
CGI wolves were dumb. That was another
they,
negative for me.
well, I'm not gonna talk up the CGI. I'm just gonna say the aspects of the wolves
Yeah, yeah.
coming in there um, I thought was kind of like you know, he's understanding more about what humanity is, like that, hey, they have this existential threat that they have to go take care of, so they all have to leave and they leave the old man there, that sort of thing. And so then I thought there was good, and like I said, I definitely skipped over a little bit of parts on around that part, but like I thought there was gonna be some kind of conversation about that sort of thing, like why he goes like, well,
Yeah.
I understand why they did that, why they left you here, and why they went after these wolves and that sort of thing. Or he has some like inner monologue where it's just like, he understands like, what this is with the family and the protecting of the family, and that's what part of what being human is, and that you have this threat and that you have to protect it. I thought there was gonna be some sort of inner dialogue or
Yeah.
something like that, but I did like the old man. I thought his character was good because that, is the old man exposition part of any sort of movie. Um, I thought, and again, maybe this is just what Frankenstein is, because throughout the thing, he had trouble, not trouble learning. I shouldn't say that because like what Victor's problem was and what he was pissed about is that he wasn't at like a human, adult human, or even child human intelligence. He was more at like a infant toddler
Yeah.
intelligence when he was first created, and like that's something that he should have thought about. And then like after some time went by, he's definitely like progressing. But then, like the explosion happens. He gets washed up on shore. He loses his memory, and then all of a sudden, he definitely is progressing a lot quicker.
Mhm.
I like that, but I kind of wish it was touched on a little bit in the aspect of like how we're viewing this as like a
Literary.
literary movie like that you would watch in like English class type of thing. Because he reads all his books, he learns about the Bible and all that stuff. So I thought that could have been touched on a little bit more. But um, the one last thing though that I wanted before I'm going
We
to
only
turn it over.
got 5 minutes,
Yeah,
Nick,
yeah.
so make
Before I
it
turn
quick.
this over to you, before we end this up, at the end there, um, I thought that like this could have. I thought that the way this was gonna be was that like I thought the monster was gonna meet his end. I didn't think the monster was gonna make it out or anything like that. I thought he was gonna maybe tell his story, kill Victor, and then set the ship on fire or something. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
No,
Um,
shut he set the ship free.
Right. And right. And that's what I kind of also like, I wish they would have touched on too, is just like, okay, so I get it. Frankenstein's always supposed to have super freaky strength, but they didn't really tell us why. But all right, well, that's just my take on it. But any last thoughts on it, Billy, before we get to the last thing?
No, man. Just after having, oh, look at this, fancy. Um Having talked through it, where would you put this Frankenstein
I would
story?
give it a wizard. Um, yeah, wizard.
I think I'd go with Wizard too. It's not totally Wizard because of the aforementioned problems that we had with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's our take on it.
All right, and the last part that I wanted to do end with is what movie do you want to see remade?
You go first.
Ah, you fucker. Okay. Um, all right, so you know what? Let's do this just think of childhood here. Okay. Gremlins.
Gremlins?
Yep.
They're doing a Gremlins 3 soon, you know.
Yeah, fuck that. Do a remake and redo the whole fucking thing, man.
All right. I am going to go with Richie Rich. I want them to
They make
remake Richie Rich.
they did do
Like,
the Macaulay Culkin one. That's right.
yeah, that movie was shit. And the cartoon was shit. I think there's some like I bought this little comic guide. It was on sale somewhere.
Hold that up.
It's the Picker's Pocket
Pocket
Guide
guy.
comic book.
Nice.
It's trash. It was like $3 at like a dollar store. But anyway,
Hey, well,
yeah, there's some good comic lore in Richie Rich. So bring that back, but make it like not just a 90s cash grab. Make it a legit story, you know? I think there's
I
something you
agree.
could do with that.
That was like a blank check, like
Yeah.
type movie.
Yep.
But now that you say that, I what they should make a movie of is the Jughead gang.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've done the CW show, whatchamacallit. What was the CW show? The town they're all from. It's the name of a town.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not
I
Woodbridge.
hold on.
What
How
is
much how much time we got?
well, you look it up. Look it up. I'll just show this again. Um, yeah, Richie Rich, uh, from the 1960s. It could be said that this issue started the whole Richie Rich phenomenon, while the poor little rich boy had been a backup.
Riverdale.
Riverdale, yeah. Rivendell or Riverdale?
Riverdale.
Yeah. So anyway, while the poor little rich boy had been a backup feature in every issue of Little Dot and had two Harvey hits try out issues devoted to him, this series proved that he could carry his own book.
Poor
He
little
can
rich
carry
boy.
his own franchise, Nick.
I mean, poor little rich boy. What does that mean? All right,
Little
Billy.
Baron Trump.
All right,
Anyway,
all
on
right.
that note,
So what do we got coming up here? Just real quick.
Avatar, Fire and Ash coming out. Um, Wicked for good. I'm excited for that. I know it's a different change of pace for our channel, but like as far as musicals and things go, but like I'm really looking forward to that.
I'll probably
Um,
watch The Running Man, but like I'm not pumped
I'm
about that
waiting
one.
for rental or whatever, waiting
Yeah, I'm
for
not pumped
streaming.
about that one. Anything else? Any shows? Anything coming out?
Oh, the Apple Plus show, Apple TV show,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Pluribus.
Pluribus. Pluribus, yeah, it's
Pluribus.
really good. The first two episodes are really good. I'm super psyched for where it's going. You've seen some spoilers so
All
far,
right.
so if for our audience, if anybody hasn't seen it yet, go into it cold. It's worth it.
Yeah, we'll try and do like a at least part of a show on that too. So,
Yeah,
all
man.
right, buddy.
All right, thank you everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Rewind.
Subscribe.
Start it back. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for all the alerts.
Comment. Give us some feedback. We don't care.
Bye. I don't know why I gave the middle finger there.
I love you.
Bye.
Are we now